next on All Access.
Sunday against Dallas. Is that who this team really is?
I don't believe so. We have a chance to answer those questions the right way, and we'll see how that goes.
This is Jordan over here and Granderson over here. So two good edge rushers, and then they run a lot of these games inside, which they're really good at.
Rookie tight end Russ Francis was the pride of the receiving corps.
I've never seen a more gifted athlete than him.
He absolutely was Gronk. In fact, Gronk is Russ Francis 2.0.
The Patriots turn in a clunker in Dallas as they drop to 1-3 on the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriots All Access presented by Geico. I'm Steve Burton. After an optimistic beginning to the game, New England gets blown out in Texas, and the numbers aren't pretty. The 38-3 loss represents the largest deficit in Bill Belichick's Patriots coaching career. Offensively, the Patriots have struggled through 4 games, averaging just 13.8 points per game, which ranks 30th out of 32 teams. And their turnover differential, which is at -5 through 4 games, is 27th in the league. Welcome to our Bob Zuscon Furniture Studios with Mike Reese and Paul Perillo right out of the gate. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Nobody saw this coming, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I didn't envision a blowout. I mean, I thought that Dallas had a lot of talent. I think both of us, Mike, picked Dallas to win the game, but I didn't think you'd be looking at, Bailey Zappi in the middle of the third quarter, toward the end of the third quarter. I didn't see a Patriots team that really didn't give a lot of pushback, Mike.
Yeah, you know what? My first thought is you put us at the top of the show. Oh,
yeah,
no.
bad.
You know I like to say that. That's my
bad.
first thought.
Oh, no.
We both picked the Cowboys. I think we thought it would be a closer game, and to me it just comes back to the quarterback play. I felt like anything else they did was secondary to the mistakes that Mac made in the game that I felt like really sabotaged their chance to win. And I have to be honest and not sugarcoat it, Paul. I mean, that's a tough day for the organization, I'm on the verge of using the word embarrassing to go down there and lose by that score.
All right, so was this an outlier, or is this who they really are?
Yeah, it's one of those things. The part that I thought was an outlier was what I touched on. I didn't see any real resistance in the second half. The game was over. We understand that. It's a huge deficit. You're probably not going to come back. But we've seen the Patriots sort of fight for 60 minutes. Even in the first 2 games of the year, they're down a couple of scores in the second half. They found a way to get themselves back in the game, and there was never really a glimpse of that, Mike, in this game. So that, I think, was an outlier. But this is basically what we've seen against quality opponents. They fall behind early in games by multiple scores and play catch-up, and we've seen, Mike, they don't have the offensive firepower to keep up.
Maybe it's because I tend to be an optimist, just the way I look at things. I struggle to say right now, in this moment, this is who they are. I want to see what it looks like.
You struggle to say that.
I struggle to say it. I will acknowledge this might be who they are.
Okay.
I'm not, but right now, I feel like it's too early. I want to see what it looks like with an offensive line that can be together a little longer, and I don't think Mac will keep playing like he played the other day.
All right, so a lot of blame has been placed on Mac. Is that fair, and how mentally tough is Mac?
Yeah, we're going to find out the answers to those questions. And this is the thing, and I think, Mike, based on your answers, I think he agrees with this. I think on Sunday in Dallas, a lot of it should have been on Mac. I don't think he played well. I think that was his worst game that I can see. The presence in the pocket, to me, was, all the poise that we had seen when he was a rookie was all gone.
So I think it is fair for this game. I thought the decision-making, and I thought he was, from my view of it, seeing things that weren't there. And that was concerning to me.
He's saying ghosts? Are you saying ghosts?
Well, I'm going to just say I've been a big believer in Mac, and I think he's a good quarterback, guys. But he wasn't on this day, And so to me, is he mentally tough? Paul said it, and I would amplify it. We're going to find out because this, to me, was the worst performance we've seen from him.
All right, guys, don't go far because we're going to see you a little later on in the show.
Sounds good.
All right.
We'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this.
Coming up on All Access.
We sit down with Captain Matthew Slater.
For us, we just have to ignore those voices and those critiques that really don't have any impact on what we're doing.
And later, we look back at the life and times of former Patriot Russ Francis.
My oldest brother, Bill, he says, hey, you've been drafted. You got to get up to the phone. They're waiting for you. And I said, they can't do that again. They had the lottery back then. He goes, no, you idiot. It's the NFL.
You're watching Patriot All Access.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Bank of America, the official bank of the New England Patriots. And by Ace Ticket, where New England fans go for tickets to all their favorite events. Visit aceticket.com. And by AdCare. Be recovery strong. Speak up and reach out. Ask for help. Call AdCare at 800-ALCOHOL.
Welcome to Arlington, Texas and AT&T Stadium for a Week 4 encounter of the New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys. Prescott with an adjustment at the line, squats under center, takes the snap, and he runs into Pollard on the handoff. Pollard strung out right and tackled by Duggar. The Cowboys stopped themselves.
Look, that was a good stop at the end. But just calm down whether you're in the game or on the sideline.
As Jones takes a shotgun snap, pocket holding, now Matt rolling left, throwing downfield, soft tosses to a wide open Douglas at the 30. Stutter step on the cut, and a spin to the far sideline 20. And DeMario Douglas tumbles out of bounds. First down, New England. 29-yard attempt. Waits in the staggered stance, snap is in place, kick is airborne to the uprights, the kick is good. Jones with a play fake, he's in the pocket, pressured. Max starts to roll to the near side, he's sacked, ball's picked up by Van Rush, a fumble, a scoop and score. Mack dropping back, rolling right, pulling up, looking back, throws it near side, passes, picked off, goodbye. Ron Bland to the 30, 20, to the 10, to the end zone.
What I tell you about throwing back across the grain?
I'm still optimistic, man. We're finding out a lot about ourselves. Got knocked down today, but that's today. We're gonna learn from it. Keep going.
After 4 games, are the Patriots at a crossroads in the season? Dan Roach takes a pulse of the team.
There wasn't much to say about what happened Sunday down in Dallas.
It's a dirty taste in our mouth after the loss last week.
The injury bug bit the Pats hard this past week as they lost Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez long term. To help shore up the cornerback spot, they acquired J.C. Jackson from the Chargers. Jackson spent his first 4 NFL seasons here, making the Pro Bowl in 2021.
Excited to have a guy like that back in this scheme, and I mean he made a lot of plays when I was here, and excited to see him do that again.
Next up for the Patriots, the 2-2 Saints, a team Mac Jones hopes to right himself against after a frustrating outing against the Cowboys.
The biggest thing is moving on from it and learning from it. I've played well at times, and I just got to be more consistent. So I know it's there.
This is the 3rd straight season the Patriots have started a year 1-3. The good news is, in each of the previous 2 seasons, they've won this Game 5. For Patriots All Access, I'm Dan Roach.
All right, Roachy, thank you very much for joining me now as longtime Patriot captain, and there's no better player to talk about this right now than Matthew Slater. Mood of the team, what would you say it is?
Yeah, it's really tough to say mood of the team. I think, we don't want to get too caught up in what that is or isn't for us. We're just trying to stay focused on having a good week here and coming out and competing and representing ourselves the right way Sunday. So I guess you could say motivated. We're all motivated to prove that we can play with more consistency than we have been the last couple of weeks.
Sunday against Dallas. Is that who this team really is?
I don't believe so. But it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what we do. And, certainly the beauty of football is you have all the answers that you ever search for at the end of every season. So we have a chance to answer those questions the right way, and we'll see how that goes.
How important is it, Matthew, to ignore the noise?
I think it's huge. I mean, there's always a lot of noise out there, especially with the media the way that it is in 2023. But I think for us, we just have to ignore those voices and those critiques that really don't have any impact on what we're doing at all. And we just have to stay focused on what's happening on the inside. So I think we've always done a good job of that here. Maybe it's a little different ignoring the noise now than it was in 2008 when I got here, but I think we'll continue to do a good job of that moving forward.
As a captain, how do you get that message across?
I think you have to be very direct. You have to be very direct in how you speak truth to the team, how you live truth out, and how you just interact with the guys. I try to operate in truth as much as I can, and in terms of these guys, so we'll continue to do that.
When does a team need a hug, and when does a team need a kick in the pants?
That's a great question. I think it just depends on the team, depends on the guy, depends on the relationship. That's a real feel thing. And obviously, as captains, we have to be in tune with that, but Coach Belichick's our ultimate leader, and he has a sense of that better than anyone.
Good luck on Sunday
Thanks
against
a lot.
the Saints.
Appreciate you.
The captain, Matthew Slater. I guess we'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this.
We recognize one of the traditional high school football powers this week when we traveled to Everett. Congratulations are in order for first-year head coach John Flores of the Crimson Tide, who is our high school coach of the week. Everett knocked off BC High to move to 3-1 on the year. Presenting the award is Pro Football Hall of Fame linebacker Andre Tippett.
Pride, character, desire, the ability to raise your hand when it's your bust or it's your fault. That's what football does for us.
The Patriots Charitable Foundation will award $1,000 to the Everett High School football program in the name of head coach John Flores.
This is all to you guys. Just like my first win, it's all you guys. I couldn't do this without you guys, and I really appreciate you guys.
1, 2, 3.
Everett!
Family!
Welcome back to Patriots All Access. Time to sit down, talk with Coach Belichick. And Coach, before we get to the game here against the Saints this weekend, quick wrap up on Dallas. Looking at the game tape, is it always maybe not as good, maybe not as bad as you thought it was during the 3 hours when you're out there?
Yeah, well, we didn't get off to a good start. Played the game from behind. Two turnovers, touchdowns in the first half, and so it's 28-3 at the half. It was, kind of tough sledding at that point. Yeah. So it wasn't great, but. Try to build on the things that, some of the positive things that happen on individual plays, maybe not necessarily a result of the play, and see if we can string some more of those together.
All right, quarter poll. We do this every year. We've been doing this for a long time. Sort of get a feeling for what type of team do you have. Do you kind of understand the type of team you have? And I know you're dealing with some injuries and stuff, but juggling some different guys in there. Do you have a feeling that there's something we can hang our hat on as we move forward here?
Well, we just need more consistency, and we need to take care of the ball better. 4 games, won 1 when we didn't turn the ball over, didn't have any sacks, and lost 3 when we've turned the ball over. And so it starts with that. It starts with taking better care of the ball and taking advantage of our turnover opportunities, and we got to do a better job on that side of the ball too, of coming up with plays in the kicking game and defensively.
Old school recipe there for winning football games, right?
Yeah, well, it's not that hard.
All right, Saints are coming to town. We don't know a lot about the Saints. When you look at them on film, and they've changed over the years, different coaches, different schemes, different philosophies. How do they look on tape?
Very good defensively and in the kicking game. That's the strength of their team. They're very good on special teams. And they've got a lot of good defensive players at all levels, linebacker, defensive line, of course, and in the secondary. So we'll see them a little bit later on, but it's a very very well coached and fundamentally sound football team defensively.
All right, time now for the Ace Ticket Twitter question of the week. Comes from @DTinney17. I think it's a pretty good question. It said, sadly, injuries are a part of the game. And you've had guys injured on your team before, whether it was like Gerard, who stuck around, Raekwon, who's around the team right now, Tom, not around the team because it was a knee. Is it a case-by-case injury thing if a player sticks around or could help on a sideline, maybe up in the booth? Do you have to approach those case-by-case?
Yeah, each situation is a little bit different depending on what the player situation is and the injury and where the rehab and what the rehab is and how it's going to take place. And most important thing is for the player to rehab from the injury. But in some cases, when they're available and they have experience and they, there's the right situation for them to fit into, then, it's great to have them. Raekwon's done a great job for us this year. He's really been, outstanding in terms of, his leadership and, given his experience to some of the younger guys and even some of the veteran guys of just another solid guy.
Sometimes it's not safe to have a guy on the sideline standing there on crutches. Like Rodgers was there pregame and he put him up in the booth on a Sunday night game.
Yeah, you definitely don't want a player that something could happen to him on a sideline. I know it's you think it's a safe place, but can't move, gets hit. It's just not a really good place to be if you can't get out of the way.
All right, if you want to ask the coach a question, you have to follow the team on Twitter @Patriots, hashtag it AskBB. You mentioned Granderson. Take a look at him and probably Cam Jordan with the defense and the Belestrator, right?
Yeah, we'll look at this defense. It's pretty good.
All right, sounds good. Belestrator will be up next, but first, more Patriots All Access right after this.
Coming up on All Access.
Remembering Russ Francis.
This was in the days where tight ends were essentially glorified offensive linemen. And here was this guy who had a big personality off the field at a time players didn't, and on the field he was like nobody else.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Putnam Investments. Putnam Investments and the New England Patriots, proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off. By Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar, Gillette's ultimate shaving experience. And by Dan O'Brien Auto. Come in to any Dan O'Brien Auto Group store today and get your awesome protection plan, keeping it awesome.
It's time now for the Social Media Minute. I'm Tamara Brown. Two familiar faces were spotted in Gillette Stadium this week, Devin and Jason McCourty. They were back to host their annual casino night to raise money for sickle cell research. If you don't already know, here's the backstory on why they started the fundraiser.
The reason why we do this, sickle cell disease, it runs in our family. Our father had the sickle cell trait. We are very close with our aunt and uncle, both had the disease. Our aunt passed away in early 2019, and throughout our life, we watched her struggle.
And check out some of the highlights from their event. Staying in the community, Matthew Judon launched Next in Line. If you live in Massachusetts, be on the lookout because Mr. Red Sleeves could be coming to a game near you.
What's up, y'all? This is Matthew Judon, and this is Next in Line. This season, I'm going to be spending my Friday nights checking out some of the best talent in Massachusetts.
That's it for the Week 5 Social Media Minute. See you next week.
Welcome back to All Access presented by Geico. It's with a heavy heart that we present this next story. Former Patriots tight end Russ Francis was killed in a plane crash Sunday outside of Lake Placid, New York. Francis was 70 years old. Ironic, because as you'll hear, aviation and flying planes was Francis's true love. For a generation of Patriots fans, Francis represented an exciting and swashbuckling brand of football. One of the best players on some of the franchise's best teams back in the 70s. His style of play, both on and off the field, was reminiscent of a recently retired Patriots tight end who will be a shoo-in for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 4 years. Our intention was to introduce Francis, one of the most unique personalities in franchise history, to a whole new group of Patriots fans who never had a chance to see him play. Today, we now honor his legacy with a look back at his life through the eyes of some who knew him best.
Rookie tight end Russ Francis was the pride of the receiving corps. In any situation, he made the catch, beating deep defenders as a nuisance, no more important than buzzing houseflies.
more talent than any human I ever saw. I've never seen a more gifted athlete than him.
Steve Grogan unwound long passes to tight end Russ Francis, number 81.
Growing up, Russ was my favorite player.
He was well known around here as Mr. Charisma was our nickname for him.
While the good hands of Russ Francis made him an All-Pro.
Russ was a great tight end, a prototype of what you look for. If you didn't cover him going down the middle, with a couple people, he was going to make the play.
I had so much just awe of his talent.
He absolutely was Gronk. In fact, Gronk is Russ Francis 2.0.
Hello there.
Well,
how are you?
It's so great to see you.
How did they know I was your first and you were mine?
I know. It's just a forever thing.
I know.
It started and it just will never end. My very first drafted player in my first draft was Russ Francis.
I get there and it was Ernie Adams, who's been a fixture here with the New England Patriots since then. He and Nancy Meyer, two of my best friends and buddies, we're all rookies together.
To this day, I keep a picture of Russ in my office to remind me of my very first draft. We're all about the same age.
In the Hawaiian Islands. Yes, I came from a real different background and come to New England where they're very, very, very serious about their sports. And they were very, very, very serious about their Patriots. And I didn't know anything.
New England Patriots first round selection, Russ Francis, tight end, Oregon.
When you found out you were drafted, did you think they'd reinstituted the Armed Services draft? Like, you didn't even know what the NFL draft was, right?
My brother comes down from the ranch house. I'm in the snow feeding cattle. We had a bunch of cattle. We worked at two other ranches. This is January when the NFL used to hold the draft then. My oldest brother, Bill, he says, hey, you've been drafted. You got to get up to the phone. They're waiting for you. And I said, they can't do that again. They had the lottery back then. He goes, no, you idiot. It's the NFL. So I said, well, tell them it's going to be 2 hours before I'm through feeding. I got to go back to the barn, get hay and all that stuff. Go there, and the phone's hanging, swinging. I said, Bill, what's going on with the phone? He said, they're still waiting. And I don't think the coach, his name is Chuck Fairbanks, is very happy. Oh. Anyway, so Chuck came on. He says, you're on a plane tonight to Boston. I said, I really can't do that. I said, is your mother home? Put Mom on the phone. She says, yes, Coach. Yes, I understand him. Okay, fine, I'll tell him, but it's up to him. It's his decision. He'll call you back. Click. She said, listen, my recommendation is that you get to go first class tonight, get into Boston tomorrow morning, meet with the coach, let him have his say, then tell him whatever you want to say, that you're either going to play or you're not going to play, but do it in person.
Again, everyone, I'm Howard Cosell, and it is the typically wind-blown Candlestick Park, and frankly, I am cold.
Howard one night called him all-world. So I think that's the first time anybody was given the designation all-world.
The quick pitch out to Russ Francis, the tight end, the sophomore from Oregon. And this young man may someday be all-world. So big, so strong, so powerful, and indeed so fast.
Howard Cosell coined the all-world phrase my rookie year when I caught like a 40-yard pass in Miami on a Monday night game. Because I called him up when he started calling me all-world, because my teammates started trying to beat me up in practice and roll me over, knee me in the ribs and everything else. The guys on the field playing against saying, all-world my ass. I said, Mr. Cosell, thank you for taking my call. It's such an honor for you to even mention my name on a Monday night game. I said, I have a big, big favor to ask of you. And he says, number 81. He said, all world. He said, what can I do for you today? And I go, oh God. I'm just stumbling, and I said, Mr. Cosell, could you please stop calling me all world? They're killing me out there. My teammates and the other guys. Do you notice any silence right now? There was silence. And all of a sudden, that booming voice, number 81, listen up and listen close. Get tough or get out, click. Coach Fairbanks got Mike Haynes and Tim Fox the next year and everything else, and Stanley Morgan came back early from Tennessee, and Steve Grogan from Kansas. Teammates like Darryl Stingley, John Hanna, Leon Gray, Shelby Jordan, Steve Nelson. It was everybody working together, and we went 11-3, the largest, quickest, biggest turnaround in NFL history.
So they went out and did it.
And went on to play the Raiders, and we should have won that game.
If you really want to think about it, he was Gronk before Gronk.
Play action fake, end zone, caught, touchdown, Gronkowski. Gronkowski on his feet at the 15, at the 10, at the 5, and he is down and he is in to the end zone. Fires to the left, it is a spectacular catch in the end zone.
I look at Rob Gronkowski and I marvel at what he can do, and I can't wait till the next play. The one thing that separates him, and I believe me, from most tight ends, you said a complete tight end, that would block and have the speed to get downfield and have the hands.
Makes a twisting one-handed catch with his right hand inside the pylon.
People have asked me, okay, what was the difference between Russ Francis and Rob Gronkowski? Well, the difference was that Rob played on a passing team with a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Defender stiff arms another, carries across the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Gronk leaps to the end zone.
We were a run-first team, and those off-tackle plays, it started with Russ at the point of attack. I think of him the same way I think about Gronk. Again, another player who could dominate the game at his position.
This was in the days where tight ends were essentially glorified offensive linemen. And here was this guy who had a big personality off the field at a time players didn't, and on the field he was like nobody else.
I don't do social media, so I haven't seen him on social media. I could see where he is a real kick because he speaks his mind, got a great sense of humor. There's nothing that he can't do.
There's many players that have talked about Russ Francis when I got here as a New England Patriot. He was the first Gronk. He was Gronk 1.0. I was Gronk 2.0. Russ Francis was the absolute man back in the day. Like, he was the guy on the field and he was the guy off the field. So what a legend he is, Russ Francis. Thank you for putting the tight ends on the map.
One of the best of all time, and he will go into the Hall of Fame.
Well, first of all, Joe, congratulations from the nation. You guys are fantastic all year long. Where do you go from here?
Well, hopefully we can get back started again in July, middle of July.
Howard got me started into broadcasting to work with Al Michaels, Keith Jackson.
The Hawaii native and the erstwhile New England all-world tight end, Russ Francis.
So Howard had an affinity for Russ. He liked Russ, and Russ liked Howard, which made Howard like Russ even more, shall we say, having known Howard.
Did you have fun doing it?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Because I could just say what I had to say really short, succinct, and those guys could go.
So what's next for George Rogers?
Hopefully the Super Bowl.
I think he thought of Russ as a guy who would not give the standard what Howard called jock talk, and had a point of view and had a way of using words that would make him sound a little different than the average guy coming off the field.
Well, thanks, Al.
Let's focus on the two-a-days. Practice in the morning. You'd hop in the plane and go to the Vineyard for lunch?
Yeah, I did. I went to the Vineyard for lunch because it was a college environment, Bryan College. The food wasn't that great, so I kept my little airplane that I bought with my signing bonus, a Beechcraft Sierra, and flew to the Vineyard, flew to Nantucket, and every once in a while a player would say, hey, can I come with you? Well, we're supposed to be eating lunch with the team, socializing, and then you're supposed to go take a nap and rest up and get ready for the 3 o'clock practice. Well, I'll go to the Vineyard, just have a nibble of this or some really good, or some lobster or whatever, go walk on the beach, and then fly back, drive back and get no nap, don't need a nap, and go in and get dressed and go to practice. Fists in the ribs, slide up into the armpits, The head moves his head back. Where the head goes, the body goes. He goes up in the air and over onto his back. That's the idea. My mother taught us to live our lives our own way and make our own decisions. If you really have joy and passion like I did for flying, it brings back a lot of fond memories. I'm honored to say that I gave everything I had and continued in any time I've ever done anything with the New England Patriots. I want to thank all the fans for everything they've done for 48 years. They are why we got to play. They were there for us, win or lose, in the snow, in the rain. You talked about being privileged to meet these people, play with these people and everything else. The fans they're at the very top of the pyramid.
Today, we're at Gillette Stadium for a day of caring for cancer patients.
But it's always a treat for me to come here on this day and see all of you and tell you how special we think you are. So we'd like you all to come and attend our crucial catch game this Sunday. We'll have you on the field. You'll be sitting in the club, so just hope it's something that brings all of you a little bit of joy and know that we care about you and you're important to us.
How do we feel about the Patriots Day of Pampering?
Collie and Tompkins left. Brady throws it to the end zone for Kenbrell Tompkins leaping.
He's got it! Touchdown! Patriots! Unicorns! Show ponies! Where's the beef? Boy, when you thought you'd seen it all, when it's total despair, 14 years in the league, this situation after situation he's been through, and to elevate a rookie, my God.
Welcome back to Patriots All Access. Time now for the Belestrator. A couple good looks at the Saints defense, Coach. This is against Tennessee, so bunch to the left side here. Good matchup here, right?
Yeah, well, this is Hopkins here at the top of the screen, and Lattimore, the corner. And then Granderson's going to come into play here. This is he's also at the top of the screen. So let's watch Granderson on this power rush on Dillard. So he does a nice job of coming around here, and it's kind of right on top of Tannehill as he throws the ball. Lattimore is covering Hopkins on this over route, and this Lattimore is really a good player. You can see he goes up and makes a tremendous interception here, goes up high points, takes the ball away from Hopkins, and picks it off there. So
really trying to force that one in there too. So D-Hop up top, you get the vertical right there across the field.
Yeah, it's tough to take the ball away from Hopkins. I mean, he's pretty aggressive going up and to get it.
All right, moving on here.
Yeah, so this is Granderson again down here at the bottom. And of course, Jordan usually plays on the other side. So between those two, it's a couple of good bookends. And here's Granderson running down, Bryce Young in the opener against Carolina and strip sacks him.
Turnovers is what we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah. Good pass rush here. Take the points off the board from Carolina and get the ball at midfield to give it up there off his.
Okay, moving on here.
Yeah, so, third down. This is Jordan up at the top. And one thing that the Saints do a really good job of is disguising the coverage. So, looks like any one of these 7 guys could rush, and they do.
Thinking all blitz right now. All blitz, and they bail out.
Some rush, some drop out. And so this is Davis and Breesy right here inside, running a pass rush game where the inside guy, the defensive tackle, hits it first, and then that's Davis coming around, putting pressure on Tannehill again. And this is a Debo down here matched up against Hopkins. And
trying to back shoulder, we've seen this a lot.
Yep, makes the interception on the back shoulder throw. So, 2 good corners here, and a Debo
and Lattimore. So here's kind of a similar, situation with, again, the linebackers, standing up and, Breezy on the center. Another good disguise play here, the two deep coverage, and then on the snap, May starts this way and then drops into the middle and, kind of forces Young to hold the ball a little bit. And that, of course, gives the rush a chance to get there. So
it's sort of like, looks like two, and then they're going disguise robber, right? So that's man underneath jam.
Yeah, with a free guy here in the middle, and so you got to be careful about these middle throws. Whereas when they're split, that's kind of where you usually want to throw the ball. So real nice disguise there, and then the pass rush. Again, they're all over it here, and
complements each other. Jam outside, hold it a little extra, and the rush gets there.
Yeah, another strip sack here. So. Again, Warner and Davis, and again, this time, Davis goes first and comes in here and picks the center. Jeez. And then Breezy wraps around, and so this is Jordan over here and Granderson over here. So two good edge rushers, and then they run a lot of these games inside, which they're really good at. And you can see it's Breezy just running over the center, and of course Jordan, powering the tackle here on the left side with strip sack. So. Good pass rush, good coverage, two good linebackers. I mean, they have good talent, good depth at all three levels of the defense.
All right, good to be back home. Get back on track against the Saints, Coach. Go get them.
Thanks, sir.
All right, there you go. There's your Belestrator. More Patriots All Access will return right after this.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Bank of America, the official bank of the New England Patriots, and by Putnam Investments. Putnam Investments and the Patriots, proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off.
Welcome back to Patriots All Access, back in our Bob's Discount Furniture Studios with Mike Reese and Paul Perillo. Okay, this team is based on defense, built on defense. The top two defensive guys are now injured, going to be out a while. How do the Patriots respond with that?
Yeah, as bad as the outing was in Dallas, 38-3, that was the worst element that came out of the game. Is you could make an argument with my two best players, period.
Yep.
Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. I think they've played really well. They've been huge parts of what they've done on defense. The defense has been more than competitive through the first month of the season. That's a huge loss to overcome.
Yeah, to me, getting Jonathan Jones back at corner, he's missed the last 3 games with an ankle injury, would help. I think it's going to be tough if you have to play with the corners you played in this last game after Gonzalez went out. And Keon White, rookie second-round pick, he's going to be a big part of what they try to replace with Matthew Judon. But let's be honest, you can't replace what Judon gave you. He's their best pass rusher,
no question.
Really their best player, in my opinion, on defense.
Okay, so I hate to put my head down, so I'm going to lift it up.
Okay.
Give me hope.
Yeah.
Give me something to feel good about.
I'm
going to defer. The floor is yours.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to give you some hope in two senses. Okay. All right. Last game, I thought the Patriots at the start of the second quarter are in the game. They're down 10-3. They're in Dallas territory, and it's 4th down, and then it went downhill from there after just a bad, call it 15-minute stretch of offensive football. Went off the rails. Actually thought there was some good stuff within the game, but put that to the side. I'm going to give you another example. If you were a Jets host of Jets All Access last week, and we talked about how bad Zach Wilson was, sky was falling in New York.
Right.
They almost come out and beat the Chiefs. It's a week-to-week league, Steve. We get caught up in the moment so much, and I understand it, because this was bad for the Patriots. But just be careful of living too much in the moment and not seeing the big picture.
That's a good point, but the sky is still falling in New York, Mike.
Yeah, no, but I love the point about the week-to-week nature, because you never know. But I'll go on. I'm going to lean on Ramondre Stevenson, because I've seen this guy play for a couple of years now, and I know he's a much more productive player than what he's shown. Now, I know a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. I do think that there's a chance, Mike, as these guys get to play a little bit more together, that they will improve, and you got to get the running game going. I think Stevenson's still a dangerous weapon, and they really haven't gotten a whole lot of production out of him. So I have to think it will get better for him.
Prediction time.
I'm going to say that they're going to get to 2-3, but I don't think it'll be easy. I think these games really are coin flips, Mike. And we remember the last time New Orleans came here with Jameis Winston at quarterback. I mean, really, they had that game in control. So the onus is going to be on the Patriots to protect the football. If they do that, I think they'll have enough offensively. I'm going to say 13-10 New England.
Well, low scoring.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Patriots. I'm not ready to write them off yet, Steve. I'm going to go 20-13.
I like the optimism. I do. I really do. Well, hopefully you guys are both right this week coming up. That'll do for this week's edition of Patriots All Access. For Mike Reese and Paul Pearl, I'm Steve Burton. Have a great week, everybody.